So let me start with first, what's your name?
Roger.
Roger, and you are?
Alex.
Alex, I'm Hashim, yeah? So, tell me about you guys first. Like, you said you believed in God, but you don't follow a particular religion?
But with us, it's different. Like I'm his brother, but we got different beliefs, different goals, basically.
Yeah. So what is your background? Like, what is your
background?
Yeah. What's your understanding about God, for example?
I mean, me personally.
Yeah.
I say it comes from within, really.
What does that mean? You mean it's like what you make of it rather than what God says He's...
From experiences, you see.
Yeah, so it's subjective, isn't it? Your understanding of God is subjective. Am I right?
It's a trick. Like, what does subjective mean, though? Like,
it means what you make of it.
I guess, from my own perspective, yeah.
Okay. Is that the same with you?
No, I'm different. I'm not sure what to believe. I'm from a neutral standpoint. Until someone can prove it to me, or someone can show me the truth, what the truth is. But for me, I don't think no one can tell me the truth. No one can show me the truth. Who knows the truth?
But do you believe in God or you don't?
I don't know what to believe. I don't know.
Okay, fair enough.
Is there a God? Is there no God? I couldn't tell you what I believe.
So I think that's the difference. That I do believe, even though I'm trying to convince him there has to be something.
You both are brothers?
Yeah.
Okay, well, biological brothers?
Yeah.
Oh, that's nice. It's good to have different opinions. I mean, it's similar like if you go to India, you go to a family and maybe every member in the family, you might have 5 members and they might each be worshipping a different god or goddess, the same family under the same roof.
Yeah.
So this is what it becomes when you don't follow an organized religion. There's a difference between an organized religion and a religion where everybody thinks that they believe in God and their perspective of God is the truth. Yes? And that's why we need a higher authority to tell us what is the objective truth about what God is, because the best explanation about anyone or anything is if it comes from themselves. Yes? Rather than us trying to figure out what God is, because everyone will have their own subjective views. You must think God is X, Y, and Z. You must think God is A, B, and C, and so on.
But if someone says God spoke to them, right? Let's just give this example. Yeah. How do you know that isn't objective? How do you know that person isn't telling the truth?
I'm not saying that if somebody says God spoke to them, it's false. I'm not saying that.
Right.
I'm saying we will obviously listen to them and investigate and ask them in detail as to what exactly did God tell you. So if what they say is contrary to what God has told us in our scriptures through revelation, then obviously they are not speaking the truth. But if it is in sync with what God has told us, then we have no problem in saying that, okay, if you saw some inspiration in your dream or something like that, because I don't think anyone is going to say that God appeared to me in this form and told me X, Y, and Z. Because for a Muslim, we don't believe God is someone who is like anything in this world or anything in your imagination. He's beyond your imagination, beyond your understanding. Yes? But he has not left us in total darkness either. He has given us certain attributes and characteristics by which we recognize that this is God. See what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's not left to us to understand God, because God has told us what He is. For example, God has told us that He's immortal, He doesn't die. God has told us that He's eternal, that He's all-knowing. And to be honest, if you look at all the organized religions in the world, they will have these things in common and they all agree with it. So there is some remnant of truth in this, which is universal, isn't it?
But you're saying he left us in the dark, right? He left us, or
He did not leave us. I said.
yeah, sorry. You said he did not leave us in the dark.
He did not leave us in the dark. He sent us messengers and messages through revelation, which gave us the guidance. Yes, how to seek Him, how to worship Him, and what pleases Him.
It's a him.
Yes, it's a well. In the sense that of him and her gender, yes, we don't believe God is someone who has a gender, because in Arabic, the default, there's no it in Arabic, So we say it for the tree or for the animals and so on. In English, there is a neutral pronoun. In Arabic, there is no neutral pronoun. So the default is a he, and that's why we say he. Yeah.
Okay.
But in reality, there is no. God doesn't really represent a gender. If that's what you're asking.
Yeah, that's what.
So yeah, you guys had some questions. What? Any particular questions?
No, I just wanted to know like, what you deem the truth is.
Yeah.
That's what.
The truth, like I said.
want to be told. Because I'm someone from a neutral standpoint. I want to be told, but.
No, fair enough. So, as I said, God hasn't left us to fend for ourselves. So obviously He created us, yes, and He brought us in this world, and He didn't just leave us here unguided.
But how
So in the Quran, Allah says that there's not a single nation out there which hasn't, where a prophet did not come to warn them, yes, and to guide them. So every nation on the earth has been sent a prophet or a messenger to guide them and to warn them. Guide them to the truth, warn them from the consequences if you disobey God. Okay? And for us, we believe that in this series of messengers and prophets, starting from the first prophet Adam, first man, all the way to the last prophet, Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon all of them, yes? All the prophets, they have the same message. To worship one God and do not associate partners with Him.
But how could you sort of believe that if, personally speaking, like, these are the things that I haven't seen with my own two eyes. I don't think anyone has seen it. I don't think anyone has seen this what you're saying. So how do you know it's the truth? How are you telling me I asked you for the truth? How are you telling me that that's the truth?
Yeah. So as a human being, you have certain characteristics which allows you to understand the world around you. So you can discern what is right and wrong, yes, since you were a baby, yes, obviously up after a certain age, yeah. And this is something which is intrinsic, which is inbuilt. You have been programmed with this, yes. This we call the fitra, the natural disposition, and we always lean towards monotheism, towards belief in the oneness of God, okay, because belief in multiple gods in a way is not only illogical, but it is also incoherent. For example, if there were two gods, they both had same power because they both are God. They both are powerful. What if there was a disagreement amongst them? Yes? So one God says, I want sunrise now. Another says, no, I want sunset now. Opposing views, opposing opinions, how do they get around this? They can't. Because one has to submit to the other. You see? One has to humble himself. And this is never going to work because once the other God humbles or submits, then he's no longer the Almighty. See what I mean? So always the default position has been, the true default position is worship in a monotheistic notion of God. Yes? Now you're asking how will I ascertain if something is the truth?
You can't.
No, you can't by yourself, in the sense that everyone will have their own opinions, you know, of the truth. Yeah, so you all will have your own opinion. That's why we have to go to what is the objective truth. Yes, not subjective. Subjective in the sense that when you present it to any third person, they can't refute, they can't deny. It's going to be, for example, I'll give you an example. Imagine you both are in a room, yes, and I ask one of you, what is the temperature? Is the room temperature okay for you? You'll say no, it's a bit warm. You'll say no, it's a bit cold. You know, both of you have subjective views because our bodies are different and we perceive our environment differently, including the temperature. Now, how would you convince a third person what is the exact temperature, objectively?
Thermometer, maybe.
Yes, good answer.
Yeah.
So
That's the only way, right?
when you present the temperature using a thermometer, which is the tool, the right tool, to identify the right temperature and in an objective manner using a tool, then no one can deny that. Yes? Similarly, when it comes to the truth, it should be such that no one can deny it. For example, I ask the atheists, where did this world come from? Where did the universe come from? And most of them, they would say, I don't know. Or they would say, we will know in future when science finds out. You see, science is also a tool, just like the thermometer. But just like every tool, it has its limitations. Yes, there are certain things which science is very good at understanding, which is normally the physical world, the naturalistic world we see around, that we perceive, that we observe. Yes, and it's quite good at that. However, there are certain things which it has no scope. For example, things which are metaphysical. I don't know what your understanding is of, or whether you believe in a metaphysical existence or not. So
no, but just to go off topic, on What would you say? When was this world made? When was it? When was it? Who made it? What's your beliefs on that?
Well, as a Muslim, I'll say, because I go based on the revelation I received from the Quran. So Allah is Al-Khaliq. He's a creator of everyone, everything. Yeah. So he's the one who is eternal, ever existing. He's the uncaused cause. Yes, he's the uncreated being who created everyone else.
So he created everything. He created everything here that you see. That's basically.
Yeah. So obviously, when I ask you guys, you say no, we came from our parents. But then if I ask you who created them, and if you go on to the series, you're going to end up with somewhere where it says I don't know anymore.
No.
Yes.
No. Yes, you're going to end up somewhere where nobody knows. I feel like nobody's going to answer that question for you.
Yeah, but you can't say nobody. That's again your subjective understanding. For me, there's no such thing as the universe coming from nothing. Yeah, that will be illogical, yes, incoherent, and something that our logical reasoning will not accept.
See, but my reasoning and my thing is, it might not be what I just said. Is it subjective? You said subjective views.
So let me ask you a direct question. Where do you think the universe came from?
Good question. I don't know.
Yeah, you see what I mean?
I couldn't tell you.
Yeah, but that's not really the solution, is it?
Yeah, but
by the way, you're being
you're
being honest. You're being truth. I have no doubt about that. However, that's not the solution, is it? When somebody tells me what's in this box here, yes, and you say I don't know, does that mean there's nothing in the box? Exactly my point. So that's not the answer. That's what I'm saying. When you say I don't know, you are now saying that this is my position of being agnostic. Yes, I'm agnostic about this, so hence this is my position.
Right.
But in reality, that doesn't really solve the problem, does it? It doesn't answer the question.
But then you telling me what you told me doesn't answer the question either.
I haven't told you yet. Oh, actually I did. I tell you it's from God. How does that not answer the question?
That hasn't answered the question.
Why not?
Prove it to me that.
Okay, so now you're going. Now that's a different question.
Yeah,
okay.
and
So when you say prove it to me, okay, let me take you through what we call through inference. Yes, through logical deduction, through reasoning. Okay, if I told you that the universe came from nothing, what would you say?
If it potentially came from nothing, who knows?
No, but
That's my that's my belief. I don't know.
that's
How, why, who?
you said it potentially came from nothing. Does nothing exist? Does nothing exist?
I mean, I would say nothing does not exist. Like, but I think differently to him. So
Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
But
of course.
I just want to know about the nothingness, because he says it potentially came from nothing.
Yeah.
If nothing does not exist, then there's no way that it can bring about something.
Again, that's a good question. It's a good question for me to answer and think about.
Yeah,
It's
of
good.
course.
Like,
That's the idea. That's the idea for this question and answers.
of course.
So
And
if nothing doesn't exist, can we now agree that it could not be possible for it to bring into existence something? Because it doesn't even exist. How can something that doesn't even exist, logically, that you would infer that it brings about something that doesn't?
you're possibly correct.
I'm not possibly, I'm definitely correct. Now this, you see, this is not an if, this is a definite no, that nothing cannot bring into existence something. Because you see, nothing is, what is nothing? I would define it as,
So how did it start? Where's the beginning?
yeah, we're coming to that. Let's deal with nothing first. So nothing, correct me if I'm wrong. Nothing to me means something, sorry, nothing is the absence of everything. Would you agree with that definition?
Right.
Okay?
Yeah.
So absence of everything means anything you can think of, anything you have observed, anything you have seen, anything you have measured, is none of that. It's just a concept. Yes? So there are two extremes. One is nothing, another is infinity. Yes? There's no such thing as infinity either. It's a concept.
How about God? He's infinite, though, isn't he?
Yeah, but what do you mean by God is infinite? I know God is eternal, but what do you mean by God is infinite?
I mean, based on what you, but obviously you said there's even infinite and there's
Infinite is a
number-
concept for us to understand in mathematical formulas. For example, I can denote nothing with a zero,
But if
and I can denote infinity with that sign, you know, the 8 on its side.
But if God's always been there, then He's basically infinite. Like,
He's eternal.
yeah.
I
but-
would use the term
but
eternal.
obviously, you brought up the word infinite, and the only thing I can think of, you said that there's no such thing as infinite. The only thing I could think of infinite would be then God.
Yeah, but what do you mean by to me infinite means never ending.
Never ending.
If you're- yeah,
Like,
if you're
he's always
talking-
there and
Okay,
and
so let's
always been there,
take a step back. If you're saying that God's knowledge is infinite, If you're saying God's...
I would say his presence, like what he is, I would think that he would be infinite.
Yeah. So the correct term there would be eternal.
Eternal,
Yeah. So he would be eternal means he had no beginning, no end.
And what's the difference between eternal and infinite?
There is a big difference. Which infinity means it has no ending. It doesn't mean it has no start.
So infinite means it has no ending. And God hasn't got an end. Like he won't have.
Yeah, that's why I said he has no beginning, no end. That's what eternal correctly is defined as.
Yeah.
Whereas infinity could be starting from zero, but then going on infinitely. You see what I mean?
Oh, I know what you mean. Yeah, that makes sense.
And besides, it's a concept. Yeah, for mathematicians to use in their equations, in their formulas, to represent certain models. Yeah. So it's a concept. So now we have eliminated nothing could bring about the universe. What other alternatives are there?
I couldn't tell you. I really couldn't.
I mean, I'm with you on this one. Like, I believe there has to be something there from the beginning to bring about all this.
So
With you on that.
another example that they would say is that it came about by itself. Is that logical?
Tell me it's not.
We're just using logic here, by the way. We haven't used religion or faith or anything like that. So this is through inference, yes, through question and answers, in a logical, rational, reasonable method. Yes. So what we do here is we eliminate certain possibilities, which people would say this is probably the way the universe came into being. So we, through elimination, through deductive reasoning, we can, and through inference, we can find out through logical means, isn't it?
How long has the Earth been?
According to the scientists, the universe came about around 14 billion years ago. That's how they have calculated based on the I think on the expansion of the universe. They can calculate. Yeah, they can calculate the age roughly what it is.
So the Earth was around.
Not the Earth, no, the universe.
The universe. Okay. What about Earth? What about Earth?
They say around 4 billion.
They say 4 billion.
Yeah, but that's irrelevant right now. Right now we have to find out where did all this existence which we are so familiar with, you know, because the universe includes all of this existence, isn't it?
Yeah.
So we have to understand where did all this come from. And we can't say it's from nothing. What other alternatives are there? They say that it came about by itself. But that's also impossible, Mr. Rahmatullah. That's also impossible. You know why? Because something, if it never existed in the first place, it cannot bring about itself. Right. See what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like me saying that I gave birth to myself.
But is there a possibility that the universe is eternal? Is that possible?
No, that's not a possibility either. Like I just told you, that scientists themselves have postulated that this universe has a beginning and it has a certain age, like they say about 14 billion years.
Yeah, but even if we forget the scientists and just think of it like ourselves, is it possible that the universe could be eternal?
No, it couldn't.
But why not though?
The reason for that is because of the evidence that we have so far with regards to the universe expanding.
So is that based on science?
Yes, that's based on science. And also, if you base it by itself, what do you mean by eternal? Even through
eternal in terms of what you believe eternal.
Yeah, but we
is.
can't just say something is eternal when we don't have evidence for
I'm
it.
saying, is it possible though?
No, it's not.
That the universe could. That's my question.
Yeah. It's not because of the evidence that we have. Okay, it's like me saying that this bird over there, which I'm seeing, is eternal. I'm just making that claim. Yeah. But that can't be true because if you investigate further, just like the scientists have investigated through various models of the universe, they say it's impossible through certain, principles of physics itself. Yes? It's impossible. For example, entropy. Yeah, through entropy, which is the second law of thermodynamics. It's impossible for the universe to be eternal because everything that you see as systematic comes to a state where it is not stable anymore, and it's kind of goes about into, some of them say chaos, some of them say it loses its energy and so on.
Yeah, see, I know what you're saying, but so, see, when we're talking about the universe, you mentioned science, for example. Science says this and science says that. And obviously scientists, they're human. They're using tools that they have to understand if the universe is eternal or not. But when we bring up God, for example, you don't say that science says that God is eternal.
Do you remember earlier I told you science has certain limitations?
It does. So exactly. So how?
So God, when you're using the example of God or angels or anything metaphysical, science is the wrong tool.
Yeah, but the universe could be metaphysical, but we don't know about. Like,
we know that the universe is physical. We know you're part of the universe. You're not metaphysical.
yeah, but there's stuff in the universe that isn't physical, though. Am I right in saying that?
I, as a person who believes in both,
Like, consciousnly isn't physical.
yeah,
But that's part of the
I
universe.
agree. So I, as a person who believes in both the physical world and the metaphysical world, I will say yes.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
But if I ask this gentleman here who doesn't believe in God, who's not certain yet, who takes an agnostic position, and there's nothing wrong in that, but then you ask yourself these questions that science is a tool which has limitations. As long as you acknowledge that, which I do.
Exactly.
Yeah,
But
which I
obviously,
do.
you know, obviously I believe in God. I believe in the original source. But I'm saying, playing devil's advocate, in terms of the universe, we don't know for sure if it's eternal or not because we
know,
haven't got the tool.
we know based on our observation.
Yeah, but based on our observations of God, how do we know?
Okay, so
He's
when you
eternal?
say the
It's like-
universe, what is your understanding?
well, I guess it's just
Because to me, when I say the universe, I'm using it in the sense of the naturalistic science, which is the physical world which we see around.
exact. But within the universe, we know there's metaphysical things like the consciousness and other things as well, which we can.
So
talk about.
all these things which are metaphysical and physical,
Right.
they're contingent. They are not independent. So anything that is contingent
Yeah,
has a
but
cause.
How do you know though? How do you know consciousness is contingent? Like that's the question. How do you?
Okay.
Scientists don't even know what consciousness is.
Hold on. Consciousness is one of the characteristics of a sentient being. Okay, how would you define consciousness?
Well, that's a good question. I haven't got the right definition right now on me to define it, but I know it's not a physical thing.
I agree.
But I know it exists.
I agree. So you're
see?
telling me about what it is not. I'm asking you what it is. What do you think is consciousness, based on your understanding? And by the way, look, not a trick question, yeah, to
Yeah,
get
no,
you
of course.
guys.
Yeah, no, I want to be able to answer.
It's like saying what's the internet, for example.
Okay,
You
so
know?
there is a philosopher, his name is Descartes, and he coined this phrase. What is the phrase that he coined? So he said, I think, therefore I am. Yes? So Descartes made this statement, and this is what I think most people will agree with this, that if you are aware of your environment, then you're conscious.
Yes.
Would you agree with that
I
definition?
agree, but however, he's still human. So whatever he says, it doesn't mean it's 100% fact that we have to believe what he's saying. You see what I'm saying?
No, but look, everything that you and I talk about, we need to understand the definition of that. Otherwise, there's no point in talking.
That's what I'm saying. We haven't got the tools to understand what consciousness is. So how can we
but
rely on a man to say, oh, whatever we
It's,
think?
it's not the tool. I'm telling you your understanding. So even though it could be subjective,
We can't understand. That's my point.
no,
We
hear me
can't
out.
understand.
So even though it's subjective, for example, what Descartes said as a definition, I would agree with it.
Right.
That I think, therefore I am. I am aware and conscious of my environment, hence I am conscious. Okay? Now, in a nutshell, that is what I would consider consciousness as. But when you use the term consciousness, and you say I have no definition for it, then your using that term is pointless. Because if you yourself don't understand it, I'm not asking you to understand everything about consciousness, but at least to give me a gist of what it is. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So you need to have certain understanding of the terms that you're using, and if you don't have any understanding of it, then it's pointless.
Yeah, but
for
then-
example,
Go on.
you and I believe in God. Okay?
Yeah.
If I asked you, do you understand everything about God?
No.
Exactly my point.
Exactly.
But does that mean you don't know God?
Well, it's a good question. Do I not know God though? Obviously, I believe that there is a God, but I don't have evidence to prove to you that what I believe might be true.
Yeah,
but
so you
I
don't
know
have- you
you
don't
might have
have-
evidence,
yeah.
obviously based on your religion, but
But that's the point I'm trying to say. That you don't know everything about God. I don't know everything about God. But yet, God has told us certain things about Him by which we know Him. So I would not say I don't know God.
Yeah.
Yes, I do know God based on the limitations that I have.
So are you
and
saying-
based on the limited knowledge I have.
yeah. So you said I can't talk about consciousness if I don't know nothing
Yeah,
about
so same thing
definition.
same
Is
thing
that
applies
what
to
you were saying?
the same thing applies to consciousness.
Yeah.
I might not know everything about it,
Yeah.
but I do have certain idea as to what consciousness is. Because we are using it, in the questioning, in our reasoning, we're using consciousness. Because everything is linked to your consciousness. Otherwise, you wouldn't be asking these questions. And I wouldn't be asking these questions or answering these questions.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is we still don't know for sure what that is. You can rely on other people to kind of tell you and give you theories.
That's the reason I said we don't know everything about God. But yet, we never say we don't know God, do we?
Yes, but
So let's use that limitation of our knowledge and our understanding about both God and consciousness.
But what I was saying is consciousness could be metaphysical.
It is metaphysical. I
Exactly.
don't doubt that.
And that's within the universe.
Yes, I don't doubt that either.
So, and if there's no tools to measure what.
No, there's no
So science
scientific tools
Exactly.
out there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no scientific tools, or science is a tool which is limited in its scope to understand the
And this
metaphysical.
goes back to my question. Then you can't say that you don't know that the universe isn't eternal because, you know.
Oh, wait. So,
Be-
how does metaphysical
Yeah.
make it a possibility for the universe to be eternal? I don't know where you
No,
come from.
because
Can you
because
please clarify.
because again, I have like a lot of thoughts going on right now, right? So like,
Let's
you know,
focus
like
on one.
what? No, that's hard. I'm a Gemini, so I'm always like thinking
Oh,
about.
okay, I see.
But anyway,
Let's not overthink it.
Yeah, that's past the point. But what I'm saying is, like even in life, for example, like, do you know anything that's physical and metaphysical at the same time? Like I'm just thinking the universe then.
You are metaphysical and physical at the same time. Because you have both consciousness and your physical properties. There you go.
Exactly. And then when you say you, me, what do you mean by me? Who's me?
You as a person.
Yeah, but this, my skin, or
said you as a person.
or the soul.
You as a person, which includes everything. Your physical and metaphysical properties, both.
Yeah, but obviously we know the physical isn't going to be here forever.
I know.
Exactly.
But
So-
your soul is also part of you as a person.
But you said I know a second ago. So you said you know that the physical isn't going to be here, so that will perish eventually,
Yes,
right? So
What's the point you're
will there
making?
be something there that? So with the soul, like what stays then? The soul, isn't it?
Okay, so when I say a person,
The soul eternal.
it's after you die, God will decide where it goes.
Right.
Yes, but it's going to be eternal after you die. Yeah.
So-
Eternal in the sense that it has a beginning, but no end.
So I'm eternal, basically.
No. Eternal in the sense that you have a beginning, but not an end. Your soul. Unless God wishes it to.
Yeah, but that's a good point. How again? What I don't know is how do you know that?
I think we are going on too many tangents. Let's focus on one. We were talking. No.
It's a complex issue.
If you focus on one point at a time,
Yeah.
then it simplifies it. So if we were talking about the universe, you made certain points about physical and
I'm saying it could be like.
No, but-
I'm trying to like kind of help.
yeah.
you
But
guys
when
out.
you look, whenever you say it could be or it is a possible,
Yeah.
you need to substantiate it. You can't just make a claim out of the blue and expect everyone to believe it.
But you were saying it's not because there's a philosopher that said that consciousness is this.
No, I was talking about the universe. You said the universe because it has both the physical and the metaphysical properties within it.
Right.
You said that somehow leads us to believe that it could be eternal, and I want to know why would you say so?
Because we don't know what that metaphysical aspect of the universe is. How can you comprehend what it is?
Okay, we already found out that one of the metaphysical, we both agree that we have a soul, we have a metaphysical, property of consciousness.
Exactly.
Yes.
Yeah,
So we know.
Obviously we have the mind, we have the spirit, or whatever.
Yeah.
I don't know.
And
what
that
it
is part of the universe, right? You and I and all the humankind
It-
are part of the universe.
It's part of something. It's
Yeah.
part of the-
So
yeah.
that's why we say that we already know that there is a metaphysical property within this universe.
Yeah.
Now I want to know on what basis did that lead you to believe that the universe could be eternal? Because that's what I'm trying to understand.
because
you made this claim.
because you made a claim everything physical or something has an end. But what I'm saying, the universe isn't that physical thing that you were talking about. The universe is.
No, hold on. I did not say that the metaphysical could not have an end. Okay? Because in the Quran we have an ayah where Allah says everything will perish except himself. Yes? And everything includes the angels, the humankind, everything, yeah?
Yeah.
If God wanted everything to perish, he could easily do that. And he could bring them back.
See, I'm not even talking about God right now. See, you brought up God. I'm talking
Now,
about.
you were talking about metaphysical?
Exactly.
God is metaphysical.
He is, but I'm not even talking. Yeah, but so is consciousness. So if God is.
That's why I said everything physical and metaphysical can perish, and then God can bring it back. God can resurrect.
Based on what though? How do you know? Like who's like obviously.
That's why I said let's stick to one point at a time. Because what we are doing right now is we are going on so many different tangents and we are losing focus. So once again,
Yeah.
it is always the one who makes the claim that they should provide the evidence.
Okay.
You made the claim that the universe could be eternal. I want to know on what basis would you substantiate that?
What basis? Because, again, within the universe, there's metaphysical properties.
Yeah, we already discussed that.
Exactly.
That doesn't
And-
prove it's eternal.
It doesn't, but what I'm saying is if we don't know what those those metaphysical properties are.
That's still, even if you, look,
It's not.
Look, even if you knew the properties, what would make it eternal? That's the question. Let's say you knew the properties of all the metaphysical things.
Yeah.
You knew the properties of angels, of your consciousness, or any metaphysical thing that you can assume, except for God for now. Let's not discuss God because you and I have a different understanding of God, who's a creator, who brought all this into existence.
Right,
So
right.
on that we have the same understanding.
Yeah.
So now we are talking about the physics. Let's say you knew the characteristics of the angels. What would make you come to the conclusion that is eternal? They are eternal.
So based on that, they were always here, and they
No, that's a claim.
Like, what does eternal mean, though? Sorry, like, what does
Eternal
it?
means it's always existed.
It's always existed, yeah.
You can't just make a claim that they were always there.
Yeah.
I can say God is always there by the definition of what God is. God by definition is uncreated, uncaused. He's the eternal. He's the one who created everything. So by that definition, yes, I can say that God is eternal. He's always existed.
Yeah.
But on what basis would you say that the other metaphysical entities out there are eternal?
I think on the basis is because we don't have the tools to say.
No, like I said, look.
I think that's the basis right
No,
there.
like I said, if you knew the characteristics of the angels.
But we don't know. We
No,
don't.
but if, that's why it's a
Yeah,
if.
but if can be anything though. Like if this happened. But,
Okay,
but
but
does
look, what's the
if-
difference between you saying that they could be eternal, which is also an if,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Then me saying that you knew the properties of all of these metaphysical.
Okay, but because if I knew
You still have to tell us what makes them eternal. You see what I mean?
No, but if I knew everything about the angels,
No, you need to give a
and
criteria, my friend. Just like I gave the criteria of God. Hear me out. Hear me
Go
out.
on.
Just like I gave the criteria of God.
Right.
God by definition is eternal.
yeah.
What is your criteria that other metaphysical things are eternal? Give me a criteria on which you base these things are eternal.
Well, I guess it must be based on God then. That's the only criteria I can go off.
So how many gods do you believe in?
Well, obviously there's one.
On what?
But the thing is, when you say one, like one to me, one seems like an object, like one. To me, you can't even define what one is. You can't even comprehend
Bro,
what
you're
God
all
is.
over
though.
the place again.
No,
calm
because-
down.
no, because you know you can't-
Focus. Once again,
Go on.
give me the criteria of something that makes it eternal, other than God. Because we already discussed God.
So I can't give you that.
Okay, so
The only criteria
wait.
is God is the only
So
criteria. of
what that
eternal.
means, with all due respect, is that you cannot make an assertion or even a hypothesis based on that because you don't have a criteria. You see what I mean? When you have a criteria, then you can say, yes, this satisfies the criteria, hence it's eternal. This does not satisfy the criteria, hence it's perishable.
Yeah, but the thing is, the only criteria we can go off is God, but we can't comprehend what God is.
I didn't ask you to.
No, but you are, because you
There are certain things which defines God. That's all you need to know. Okay, you don't need to know all of God
No, but
to understand
you are
God.
asking me what's the criteria for an angel being eternal. I can't give you that because
So don't make the claim then.
I'm saying it's a possibility.
No, don't even say it's a possibility if you don't have.
Why though? Why
Because
can't I
you
say it?
cannot substantiate it based on a criteria. You don't have something to go by. It's just a claim from thin air. It's like me saying there's a possibility for pigs to fly. You see what I mean? But why though? Oh, they could have wings. But hold on, this is all just claims.
That's not what I'm saying.
I know it's absurd.
Pigs are physical beings. I'm not talking about a physical being that we don't know. We don't know about angels, you know.
How do you know I'm talking about physical pigs with wings?
So, but what are you talking about then?
You know, I could talk about. I could just make up some pigs
Why
who
would
could
you
fly.
though?
Just like wait. It's something that I imagined.
Yeah, but you don't believe in flying metaphysical pigs, but we believe in angels. Like you and I do believe in a God.
And I don't believe angels are eternal. Simple as that. Because everything which is a creation of God is not eternal.
I don't believe in it either, but I'm saying
Sorry, you don't believe in?
that angels are eternal in the same way that God is eternal.
Okay, so why are we arguing about something that we both agree on then? You're just arguing for the sake of argument?
No, 'cause I'm arguing for the sake of like no one really knows. That's what I'm trying to say.
Okay, so if you don't know, then don't say. Look, there are certain things which I can say is like your friend over here. His position is of that of an agnostic person. yes, who says, I don't know where the universe came from. I don't know if God exists. But you're not in that position, my friend.
Exactly.
You are in a position where you do believe in God. Okay? Do you believe that there can be anything other than God which is eternal?
I don't believe so.
There you go. So you're arguing for the sake of argument.
I'm not. I think my argument.
You see what I mean?
My argument is really, I think, if I was to boil it down, is what is God, or what is God? Like, how do you know what God is? That's what I'm saying. Like,
Okay, so are you taking an agnostic position now?
No, it's not agnostic position. There has to be an original cause.
Okay.
But that's a fact.
And that is God.
That is God.
He's the first cause.
But then, how do you know the characteristics of this God?
He told us.